The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has reported more than 9 million Nigerians had registered to vote in the past 4 years. Well, just to inform you, the collection of permanent voter cards did end today earlier. Political parties and election observers will now have to wait, however, for the Independent National Electoral Commission to release the official data on the number of collected voter cards. Founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's Data and Information Analyst, Babajide Ogusowo, is here to share his thoughts and insights, of course, about the profile of Nigeria's new voters. You're one of the people eagerly awaiting this data from INEC, aren't you?
Certainly. The Independent National Electoral Commission has ended the collection of permanent voter cards. We expect that within the next week to week and a half, the official data on how many of those that have registered have collected a permanent voter card, so that we can analyze the numbers and share with citizens the implications of this.
But what are you expecting, to see in the data when it's released?
So there are three things I expect, and I'd like you to listen carefully to these three things. The first is I see a rerun. And by rerun, it's not the rerun that a lot of Nigerians are talking about regarding 25% and will anyone win on the ballot. Here's what I mean. Prior to this new registration, there were 84 million people on the database. Now we have 93 million. Well, what that means is that 9 out of every 10 people that will be on that queue on February 25, you heard me right, 9 out of every 10 people that will be on that queue were on the queue in 2019. In other words, it's a rerun of the 2019 election. Okay. That's what I mean.
All right.
So that's the first thing I expect. The second thing I expect is it will be an election where every vote counts. And so, yes, if you look at this, I've said 9 out of every 10 people that are going to be on the queue were on the queue in 2019. Does that mean this voter is irrelevant? Not necessarily. Watch this. Assuming 3 people votes for, on an average, 1 candidate, and another 3 vote for another candidate on an average, and another 3 vote for another candidate. This election might be decided by this one person that we thought was insignificant. And so, yes, it's a rerun of the 2019 election. Second, because of what we can feel, the sentiments nationally, that it will be a close election, every vote counts. And this voter that has newly registered perhaps might be the one that will determine this election. Now, Amarachi, the third and final thing I see is the role students will play. And I'd like us to take a look at the data INEC released regarding how many students are currently on the database, because it will allow us to know the implications and what the results might be. Who will influence these results? And if we take a look at that data, here's what you'll find. Based on INEC's results, they say that 1 out of every 4 persons that are currently on the database are students. And so in 2019, there were 22.3 million students on the database. Now we have 26 million students, because within those 4 years, 3.7 million new students have registered. No other class of persons have been able to register as much as students. The second category of voters we have, farmers and fishermen. The Commission says, as of today, we have 14.7 million on the database. 4 years ago, only 13.63 million. The third and biggest category, housewives. 4 years ago, 11.8 million housewives on the database. Now we have 13 million housewives on the database. And so among the 93 million registered that are expected to pick up their PVCs, the students have the highest population. Among those that have registered within the last 4 years, the students have the largest population, because based on the results from the Commission, in the last 4 years, 3.7 million students have registered, and that is the highest registration we've seen among the profile of people.
Yeah, I think I love this breakdown, but it's interesting that you actually point out housewives and not women. Because usually, right, during elections, most times students are in school and then women are at home, especially housewives are at home while their husbands go to vote. But I know your focus tonight is mainly on students, and a lot of them registered probably because of the ASU strike. So they're back in school now. How will they impact the elections in February? Because they're asking for INEC's help with being able to vote on that day.
So first is every profile of voter matters. And yes, you're right, housewives, women, we're going to look at each one carefully in the next 19 days. But why we've chosen students today is because students represent the largest proportion. And yeah, like I said, you're right, we're going to look at what exactly will be going on within the female gender space.
Yeah,
but let's quickly take a look at where are the students?
Yeah.
Yes, we've said 26 million students, but exactly where are these students? And here are the facts from the Independent National Electoral Commission. Half of all the registered students live in only 12 states. You heard me right. Half of the 26 million registered students live in only 12 states. Actually, 4 of these states are in northern Nigeria. 8 of these states are in the south.
And just to clarify, when you say the students, you mean like university students, right?
University students, secondary school students that are above the age of 18, those that when they were registering, when they were asked the question, what do you do? The answer was, I am a student.
Okay.
And so we've seen that in Nigeria today, no other state has as much registered students as Kano. Number 2, Lagos. 3, Kaduna, and the list goes on. But the fact shows what is in front of us. These 12 states in front of us accounts for half of all the 26 million students that are registered in Nigeria. If you look closely at that data in front of you, you'll notice that 4 out of these 12 states are in northern Nigeria, 8 out of these 12 states are in southern Nigeria.
Why is that, though?
So the evidence we'll probably have to interrogate it. I don't want to jump into conclusions, but what we've seen is that if you look at the southern part of the country, the top 2 states that have the highest registration, Rivers and Delta, and those are some of the states as well that we've seen students register for all sort of programs. But like you said,
I think you forgot to mention Lagos.
Sorry, Lagos, yes. Yeah. Lagos, Rivers, and Delta. And so the number of schools that are available is one reason why you have a lot of students, because you can only be a student if you're in school. Right. So the number of schools within a state influences the opportunity for that young man or woman to register.
But you haven't talked about what impact they would have on the elections. We're just a few days, well, roughly 2 weeks away, from the presidential elections.
And so that's when you talk about potential and actual. So we've talked about the potential power of the students, 26 million students. Half of these students in 12 states. Students representing the highest of all other profile that we have on the database. By the end of the day, the number that really matters is, will the students come out to vote? And we have the facts. And that's perhaps what we should end with. Will the students come out to vote? And let's take a look at what exactly happened in 2019, Amarachi. And these are the facts. In 2019, the Commission released similar data, told us that there were 1.3 million students in Kano, but on election day, only 37% of people in Kano voted. In Lagos, 1.3 million students registered to vote in Lagos. But on election day, what was the voter turnout in Lagos? 19%, the worst. Kaduna, more than 1 million people registered, more than 1 million students registered to vote in the 2019 general election. On election day, Kaduna had the best performance among those states, 46%. Rivers, 1 million students registered to vote. Voter turnout in Rivers, only 21%. What we've seen is dormant students, and that's the summary. Students that make up the highest on our database, students that are in the north, students that are in the south, students that hold the passports to Nigeria's future. But on election day, the voter turnout is poor. And so this election, like I've said, yes, will be decided by the rich and the poor, but it will also be decided by those that come to vote on election day and those that stay away. And in the next 19 days, I think the Commission and other organizations need to speak up about the impact of your vote. This time, because of what INEC is doing regarding the Beavers machine, the fact, Amachi, shows that votes really count.
They should count this time round.
And more than ever before in our election history, I guarantee you that in this election, your vote will count. Your vote will count to the extent that right now, when you vote and you go back home, or even from polling units, the results will be uploaded, and so you can see your vote. You can see your impact on the election result. It's going to be a beautiful 19 days, Amarachi.
I hope so, Babajide. I will draw on your optimism. Thanks a lot for advocating tonight.
The pleasure
I
is
hope
all
the
mine.
students are listening and will be heeding, this message on February 25th. Thanks again, Babajide.